So today, for the very first inaugural review and unboxing, we're doing the Indiana Jones Adventure Series. I know some people have already gotten this figure, others not so much. Some like the Dial of Destiny, some don't. So we are going to get right into a little review on the figure and of course the box art, everything like that. So if you are interested in seeing more of these, definitely follow us, hit the bell for the subscribe button, and we'll talk toys from time to time, since that is one of the things that I do, one of the many things that I do as far as sculpting, toy prototypes, doing paint masters, and that sort of thing. These are all inspiring for me as well. So here we go. We're going to talk about this figure. So like I said, this is from the last series that was released. I believe there was one more after this, but this is the Indiana Jones as he appeared in Dial of Destiny. The box is, par for the course with all of the boxes. It has different character photos on the side and a little bit about the build-in artifact. And then on the back, it has that two-tone. You can kind of see that some of it is matte and other parts of it are glossy. So it shows you what's in the figure, what comes in the box, and then, of course, an image of the figure that's almost kind of like life-size. And then on this side, of course, artwork of the, from the character itself, which I believe, ironically, this was from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So it doesn't look like it was, a character sketch of Harrison Ford from the last movie. But for those that care, UPC code on the bottom, and then, of course, all the information on where it's distributed from, where it's made, and all of that stuff. So that's the box art, and now we're going to take a look at what the figure is inside. So here we are, the opening of the box. So as with all of the other releases, it is a cardboard insert that has all of your goodies there and wrapped in the back as well. The thing that nobody's reading, I'm sure. And then, of course, that's your bag of accessories and the action figure itself, which is in, the famous egg roll wrapper. So we're going to take that out and take a look at it immediately. So that is the Indiana Jones as he appears in the Dial of Destiny. Famous little gun hand with the trigger finger, even though this one does not come with a gun. And it has the, the same sculpt on the jacket, and I believe the pants as the current Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana Jones. It is a new sculpted bag, though, because as you notice, it doesn't have the little buckle anywhere on it. So this is the first time that they've sculpted a new bag for it. And it always irritated me with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and they've done it again for Dial of Destiny, in that the bag is on the outside of the jacket. And this one, they went one further by putting it on the opposite side. Have no idea why. Maybe it was that he didn't have a gun belt or a holster for this one. So that is the figure. New head sculpt. This is an older Harrison Ford. It could probably go for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as well as the Dial of Destiny. It's a good likeness of Harrison Ford. However, because of, I'm sure, tooling expenses, every single one of these figures has the Raiders of the Lost Ark hat. And you say, well, what's the difference? It was that sharp center pleat. So some of the hats were different. In fact, when they did Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, it was a much softer front to that hat. So I know I'm a nitpicker, but that's what I do. And in fact, the one thing that I noticed immediately on the boots is that it doesn't have the famous Alden orthopedic heel. So yeah, I'm that guy. So the balancing of this figure is always difficult. And we're going to see if we can get this to balance, because it's not always the easiest. And then we have all of the accessories in the other little egg roll bag. And in this, we will start with the accessory that is for the build an artifact. And in this case, this is for the top of the Temple of Doom skull that holds the the little Sankara stones. He does come with the backpack, which also had some interesting controversy with it. If you've been following any of the Indiana Jones news that was out there, the actual backpack was used without permission. So Disney is probably going to have to pay handsomely for that. So this is, again, that famous backpack, you know, for Indiana Jones. And he does come with a lantern, a little tiny, you know, lantern that was featured in the Kingdom, or not the Kingdom, the Crystal Skull, the Dial of Destiny, and of course a newly sculpted whip. And this one is very different because he has the little hole peg on the side rather than it being coilable and put on his belt. So as far as the articulation on the figure, it's you know, fairly standard. It does have the ball joint at the head, and it also has that middle neck that also moves and slightly turns. This part before it gets into the shirt here. And then of course it's got the, you know, typical shoulder articulation. It does have the butterfly joint in there, so the arms can actually be pulled forward, pushed back, different poses there. And then of course, single joint on the elbow. And as is common with most of these, they're either joint, you know, where it's like a scissor joint, or it's like a ball joint, and this one is the ball joint. So it has that on both of its hand. And again, because of tooling costs, I'm sure, he's got that that booger hook instead of, you know, a regular hand that might hold an accessory. I don't know, like maybe the Dial of Destiny. We already talked about the extra bag, the newly sculpted bag, and it's got a pretty good range of motion in the waist. And then of course the legs have the typical butterfly joint, but it's a ball joint this time, and they do have pretty good range of motion for most poses. And then of course the swivel on the not so Alden boot. It doesn't have a lot of up down, but it does have a good tilt and a good side to side rotation as well. So not anything like groundbreaking about this figure, except that it is the older Indiana Jones. And again, this is probably one of the good likeness sculpts that they have, and probably one of the more realistic looks for Harrison Ford, especially aged to about 80. So okay, so now that we've done the basic review here of the figure, and as far as the posability, the paint ops are fairly consistent with all the other ones. There's not as much fatiguing on the clothes or dirtying up of the clothes. He does have some, you know, rough spots on the jacket. Most notably on this one is, in the movie, if you remember, he did have a bullet hole in the side of his jacket that was kind of sewed up or patched up or something like that. But again, that's the nitpicker in me. They just used the same sleeves probably that was on the Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana Jones figure. And we're going to take a look and see what it looks like with some of the accessories in place. So of course that butterfly hinge on the arm joints does help in getting his arms fairly far back. And then it's kind of funny that they would put this particular backpack as an accessory, because he only had it pretty much at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, when he was in the, you know, spoiler alert, when he was looking for the final part to the dial. So it fits good, goes on real easy. We're gonna look down here, and you can see right here, this one, unlike the other one, doesn't have the belt loop, but it does have a peg. And that's where you're gonna put the correct colored whip, because in that movie he also had a very dark whip. In Raiders of the Lost Ark it was much lighter. So with this one you just have to line up the little hole in the whip with the peg on the belt, and it should pop right in there and stay. So a little bit different than the prior releases, and we didn't get to see him use the whip that much in this one. We saw it basically in Morocco, and then there wasn't a whole lot more of it until, you know, sporadically through the movie. So we got that, and then since it's his right hand, we're going to probably put the little lantern here in this, and you'll get to see what I'm talking about with that awkward little trigger finger, which, see what I mean? You can't keep anything, you know, in them because it's so awkward, you know, trying to get the pose in here. And then also equally awkward is there's no swivel really in the hand itself. Like some of the figures, especially the Star Wars lightsaber holders, they'll actually be a swivel joint that goes up and down. And this one, you're somewhat limited in your range of motion. So it looks good on him. The bag is a little bit awkward, especially with the backpack in place, because it doesn't lay the way it would, you know, in the movie. But that's basically the whole setup of the Indiana Jones. The one thing that I would probably love to see a little bit more, because these figures are very top heavy, and I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the rubber and the plastics that are used in this, the PVC of the legs, the arms, all of the things that have that kind of rubbery feel, it's really, really rubbery in this one, and it makes for interesting posing. And because they're so soft, it's also very difficult to keep them upright on the shelf, because eventually the ankles kind of weaken up a little bit and it'll fall over. So I am working on making some stands for mine, because I just can't stand when they're falling all over the place. Now, one thing that I am going to point out here, and it was consistent on every figure in the Dial of Destiny line, is you'll notice one thing that's really missing in here is the actual dial, which is kind of weird because it's called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and yet none of the figures have any part of the dial. So I actually went ahead and I did a few pieces. This is one of the pieces, and it has the piece here that was in the wax. I've got this piece here that was the one that was brought to auction, if you remember, in Morocco, and then a final assembled one that takes them back to ancient Greece during the battle with the Romans. So you'll see the big difference here is that when you have the Indiana Jones and you're actually able to have one of the dial parts, the Dial of Destiny parts in his hand, wow, really, Hasbro? That's the only complaint I have, is that they did not give any accessories featuring something that was in the title. I mean, you got pretty good accessories with the other ones. In the Indiana Jones from Raiders of the Lost Ark had the Golden Idol. The Temple of Doom one came with the Sankra Stones. Last Crusade had the Grail. You know, as far as the MacGuffins go, why didn't they have this one? But at least, you know, thankfully I can make some of this stuff again, because I do you know, toy design and toy sculptures for a living. So yeah, just one of the other things that we do. So there it is, you know, with the parts of the Dial of Destiny, and of course accessoried out. I would say that as far as the overall look and design of the figure, it's going to get high marks. I mean, the paint ops that they did on the face, they're very good. That's the kind of like the real paint that they put on it, so they can do more with the likeness. And he has that older kind of curmudgeon-y look to him. They kind of cheaped out. If I got to complain and nitpick, they should have done different new sculpt for the jacket. Made him just a little bit thicker, because he did have a different jacket in this one. The pants are a little bit too dark as well, if I'm nitpicking. In Dial of Destiny, they weren't quite that dark. And I'm not sure why they went this way, but there you go. And, you know, that would save a lot. I mean, if they're going to tool a separate bag, if they're that nuts about doing, you know, any kind of adjustments, I feel that they could have done that a little bit better with things like the jacket and, you know, get the color of the pants right. But I don't know, they did pretty good on the whip. But all in all, I would say that it's a very good figure. I think that as far as the likeness and the design and everything like that, pretty darn hot. And this is available. I'll put a link in the description. So if you do want to pick it up finally. They are doing a lot of sales on Amazon, and I will link that to you guys in the comments and in the description. So if you are looking for it, you'll be able to check it out and get the link right there. There's one other thing that I'll mention about this figure as well, and it's, it's just a planning thing. They didn't make any of the Indiana Jones figures from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, probably because of the lack of fan support. But, by swapping the bag to the other side, and with the head sculpt being, so good, but an older Harrison Ford, I did decide to design and print the Crystal Skull. So, I'm not sure how I'm going to display him, whether I'm going to display him with the Dial of Destiny, or if I'm going to kind of balance this in there for the display and have him holding the Crystal Skull, because, both are okay movies. None of them are going to compare to the original trilogy, but, if you're looking at just, filling out your collection, and if you want that, that's also available right now from Scott Finster Sculpture Studio, and they're pretty affordable. So if you're interested, hit me up.
A final triumph.
Indy! Give 'em hell, Indiana Jones!
A few times in my life I've seen things. I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times. Including once by your father.
Sorry!
But I've been looking for this all my life.